Good morning, and Dorothy is going to welcome us to this Halloween party and exploration of role theory.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm really glad you could come to the Halloween party today. And I want to welcome everyone from all parts of the world, all time zones, and we're really happy to have you here. And after I read this scary poem to set a scene, then Lynn will be talking about different roles that we play and the impact in our lives of our roles and how we can move past them.
Not move past them. Something. We're going to see how we fill in that sentence and how we can ...
Yes.
We'll all get together in the party.
Yes, sounds good. Okay. One Good Scare by Patricia Fleming. I saw a shadow passing by, thinking it just a trick of the eye. I turned on the light, but no one was there, though I noticed a fragrance thick in the air. Convinced all was well, I lay myself down. But then without warning came a frightening sound. I could hear right beside me, so crystal clear, someone was breathing right in my ear. I turned on the light and jumped out of bed. This time I was certain it was not in my head. The quiet that followed seemed abnormally loud. And there in the doorway, I saw a dark cloud. It floated right toward me as fast as could be. And then it just stopped quite suddenly. And there I could see an old woman's shape, dressed in a flowing black hooded cape. Slowly, her eyes looked straight into mine. I felt locked in her stare for what seemed a long time, but then she just smiled, a sick, toothless grin, as she lapsed into a wild and swift twirling spin. I felt mesmerized by this terrible sight, unable to move, paralyzed with fright. And then once again came that sweet, sickening smell. Perhaps I was smelling the doorway to hell. A sinister cackling filled up the room. She sounded like a murderous, malevolent loon. She reached out her hands with black claw-like nails. And then from her mouth came a torturous wail. Her spinning slowed down and came to a stop, just like a child's toy spinning top. And then she was gone. She just disappeared. I sat there, unmoving, still lost in stark fear. Then I crawled back to bed and curled up by the light, grasping my Bible with all of my might, praying and praying with heartfelt concern that this monstrous spirit might make a return. I watched as the clock ticked the long night away, longing for the light of a brand new day. And ever, I relived what I'd seen, and then suddenly remembered it was Halloween. Well, it gave me a relief. I now lay there quite calm. The horror I felt was suddenly gone. That crazy old woman was supposed to be there. On this day, above all, I deserved one good scare. Well, I felt like a load had been lifted from me. As I relaxed, I fell quickly to sleep. But I never forgot that night I had seen and when I was treated to a true Halloween.
Wow. Thank you, Dorothy. That is certainly a Halloween poem. I want to welcome you all to our Halloween party. And I want to say that that poem really, really touches.
Halloween party?
What's that?
No, nothing. Sorry.
That Halloween poem really touches my experience because my cat in a city apartment is missing, and I feel like that terrible scare, but she might just appear from somewhere she's hiding, and then it will be just like that poem. I'll say, oh, this was a Halloween scare. We're going to be exploring this morning the roles that we play in life. And are these roles that we play just like costumes that we wear in the narratives of our lives? Are they something deeper? Do we put them on and take them off? Can we choose them? Can we get rid of them if there are roles that we have that don't fit us, like prejudices or ways that we're seen in the family that constrict us? Can we get rid of them? How do they affect us internally when we don't even know it? Do we take them for granted? Do we take for granted certain ways of being as a woman, certain ways of being as a citizen, as a mother? And how do we interact with them? So these are some of the questions that we're going to be asking in our Halloween party this morning. And I am so enjoying seeing you all. Somebody needs to, when everybody has arrived, and I'll ask you all to put on your cameras. We want to see you. Let's take a screenshot of all of our costumes. Christine says that I have to come as something. I said I was Halloween. She said, no, that can't be Halloween, black and orange. You have to be something. You could be autumn, she said. So I guess I'm autumn. And I'll say a little bit more about my outfit later on. But let's take a breath as we gather to explore. Years ago, many years ago, my partner came home from her training, and she said to me, her psychodrama training, she said, Jacob Moreno says that your thoughts and feelings go with the role. The role. And I said, oh, that's hogwash. Masumi, hogwash is like silly, stupid, throw it out. Hogwash. I don't really know what it is. I think it's something you feed the pigs. Hogwash, I'm not sure. But I didn't like that idea at all. But it kept coming back to me. Are my thoughts and feelings going with the role? And particularly as I was becoming more and more identified with being a therapist. Are my thoughts and feelings going with the role of being a therapist? What does it mean then to be genuine if your thoughts and feelings go with the role? Are our roles defining us? And to what extent do our roles define us? And then I was thinking about the difference between the roles that we embrace. I don't know if Steve is here this morning, but he so embraces the role of the grandfather. And that's a precious role to him. And the roles that we reject. I'm the Cinderella of the family. You know, I don't get to go to the ball. We may have roles that are foisted on us, given to us without our permission, and roles that just come with our culture. And so do our thoughts and feelings go with the role? Through the years, I've begun to recognize more and more that my thoughts and feelings are very much shaped by the role. What do I mean by role? A role, the way that I'm using it, is a group of responsibilities, of ways that we function, of expectations, ways that we identify with, maybe not even consciously. And do those roles, do they influence how we're feeling? I guess I am a very good example of this morning, because before our group, I was in the role of the worried mother about my cat. Oh my God, where could she be? What happened to her? Is she frightened? Is she hiding somewhere? And that now we're going to see, when I'm in the role of the Halloween party hostess, and I'm hostessing this with our planning committee, not just me, but will that change my thoughts and feelings? And it does. Of course, it brings it back when I mention it, but I can go into another world in my role as Halloween party hostess. It's a different lived universe, and I can have the thoughts and the feelings that go with that universe. But I don't fully escape the role of the worried mother. That's there too. So I think that the way that Jacob Moreno thought of it, the self is like a cluster of grapes, that you're all of these roles, and your thoughts and your identity go with all of these roles. And I rejected that idea. But then I also reject the idea of people like Winnicott, who thought of a true self like an apple core, like there's all of this outside, and then you get to the true self, and that is steady. There's something about both of those images that are right for me, but something that they miss. I am sending you, Christine will put in the chat, a little video clip of Jean Genlin talking about culture and how we are very much embedded in our culture, but we also transcend our culture. We're more than our culture. And I believe we are more than all of the roles that we play. We're bigger than that. From a focusing point of view, we aren't a cluster of grapes nor an apple, but we are an interaction. And I don't know a good image for that. That's what I'm going to ask you people as party members to think of what would be a good image of an interaction. It's a system within systems within systems, but that also is a kind of mechanistic image for me of constellations. So we need a better image of being in interaction with our roles. So I thought about dressing up this morning as Priscilla. Priscilla was the name I was given as a baby because my mother had embroidered little P's on all my clothes because she expected Peter. And we didn't know ahead of time in those days whether it would be a boy or a girl. So when she got a little girl, she looked through the dictionary to find a name that would begin with P. And she settled on the name Priscilla. And I hated that name as a little girl because for me, and I hope we don't have any Priscillas here that will be offended. My own personal feeling of Priscilla was that it was very old-fashioned and prissy, like delicate. And Priscilla was a girly girl. And I didn't want to be that, sort of constricted in frills and fluff. If I were going to dress as Priscilla, I would have white gloves and ruffles and lace. That was my image of Priscilla. And so I took my middle name, Lynn, which I like because it has a lot of different things in it for me. But that is such an instance of the role that the name seemed to give. And so when I imagined getting dressed up as Priscilla for you, I couldn't imagine at the same time talking to you about Moreno's role theory. Like that old-fashioned lady doesn't talk theory. And I thought that is such a funny example of what we're talking about. So I want you to take a minute and sense into what are the roles that you play in your life. What are those identities or sub-identities that you take on? Just give that a minute and see what comes to you, and jot them down if you have a pen and paper there, or a phone or something. You're jotting them down as they come to you. But then maybe you could number them in terms of what is most important, what you identify with the most. See if there are any roles that you've been given that you don't identify with, or that you don't want to identify with. Like hand-me-down clothes. Our culture, our families can hand us costumes that are uncomfortable or constricting. In my time, young women wore these terrible girdles made of rubber, and you had to wear that to be an attractive woman, we thought. And you would get them on. It was a horrible, horrible thing. And then the nylon stockings with a little ridge up the back that was always crooked that you had to straighten. So there may be roles that you're given and maybe those, if they come to you, you might want to circle them. And Dorothy had said something in her welcome about getting past those roles. What do we do with those roles? Sometimes they're deeply embedded. We're embedded in them. And the roles that we aspire to, that we want, that we haven't quite gotten to yet. Like in the community empowerment group, it's a leadership group, and we're aspiring to, we're growing toward the kind of leaders that we want to be, what we want that word to mean to us. What do we want the word helper to mean, or therapist to me. Okay. I know I haven't given you enough time, but there'll be more time in the breakout rooms to explore our costumes in life. I'd love to hear from you. In your role as participant in the Halloween party, what were the thoughts and feelings that came with this role of focusing participant in the Halloween party? And maybe something about if you wore a costume this morning, something about that costume.
For me, it was not wearing a costume.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I was always frightened of Halloween as a child. I don't like masks.
Mm.
And so there was a little fight going on. Will I try to conform to the idea that we have to wear a costume or not? And I decided not to. And that's a step for me because usually I go along with the flow.
Yes, yes, yes. In a way, maybe you were transcending your role of the compliant one, right? Would that be the right way to say it? That role of
Very, absolutely right on. Because
isn't that yes? Isn't it exciting to trend a role that you've been given or that doesn't quite fit, and then you have an act of transcending that role, right? I just want to ask you, Mary, when you decided not to wear a costume, were your thoughts and feelings different than if you had played the role that you were given and you were compliant? Did you have a different felt sense, a different feeling coming as you are without a costume?
I felt very calm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which speaks to the sense of safety in the group. I think.
And you might have had a different feeling if you had worn a costume.
Yeah. Squeezed.
Squeezed. It's a good word.
Like the girdle.
Like the girdle. Anybody else? What are the roles that you have in your life and how do you feel about them?
Well, I had a role that was suddenly landed in my lap about the time change. So we have international calls and they say, well, Katerina, make it so it's always the same time in Oceania. Make it so it's, and it was wild. And we eventually, everybody had a turn speaking about their relation to the time change. And it was quite lively. People really had feelings about the time change.
Yes, I can imagine. Yes. But you were sort of in the role of the fixer there. They wanted you to fix it. And you weren't sure you wanted that role.
It was impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, just speak.
Monica.
Okay, so I feel kind of a bit the opposite of Mary, something you were saying, Mary, about being scared of masks, because being welcome to come in costume is like, oh good, I can let my clown really run rampant.
Yes.
But then I really did not want to scare people. And I have a mask right here and I did not put it on. And I'm so glad that I didn't, because I don't want to scare Mary or anyone else, and that's, I could have had some great ideas. I thought like, oh, I'm going to really get my makeup out and rah, rah. And I feel uncomfortable in the role, some role around being the one that does scare people, like is so far out of the norm.
Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah, so you didn't want to play the expected role somehow of the far out one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if after you've said that and sort of prepared us that you're more than the far out one, the scary one, if you could put on that mask and we could all just enjoy that as one aspect of you that you are much more than.
Okay, I'll try it.
We're experimenting, everybody, in the party, because you take risks at a party. I love Masumi's. Oh, wow. Beautiful. How do people feel about that mask and Monica being in that mask?
I don't mind it. Actually, I like it.
You like it?
I do.
Bob enjoys that. Anybody else?
Well, when you first invited Monica to wear the mask, I immediately thought of Mary, but what if she gets upset, So, and it was sort of a scary mask. So I hope it was okay. But I thought of you. Right.
What did it feel like, Mary?
Oh, I wanted to say, who are you really? Who are you really?
Who are you really?
Yeah, it's like hiding. A mask means hiding to me. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. When are we hiding behind our roles, and when are we embodying our roles? It's a very, very good question. Moreno's idea was that there are stages, and the first stage is role taking, and Monica took the role of the scary one with the mask, right? Then, and as children, we take different roles. I don't think Moreno talked about how sometimes we don't consciously take them, they're given to us. But the first stage is role taking. Then there's role rehearsing, where we're practicing that role. And it may not even be a role that we like. Maybe we're given a role that we don't like and we're still practicing it in our family. And then the role playing is the third one, where we know how to do this and we're doing it. And then the last stage is role creating. And that's when we feel we can embody that role, but we transcend that role. And for me, Monica, you were role creating there, because you were saying, well, I want you to know I'm not the scary one, even though people think of me that way. And here is the scary one. So you were creating this more than the scary one and not hiding behind it from my point of view, but also creating it. I think for me, it's very important to take my roles seriously, but also to take them lightly. When I think of my role as therapist, when I first took the role of therapist, it was so important to me it felt like something sacred that I was claiming. I'm a therapist, and it felt like I didn't quite have the right to it. And then I was rehearsing it, trying to be a therapist. I would be Gene Genlin. I so embodied him. I could do therapy like Gene Genlin, and if I was very tired, I would just let Gene Genlin take over, and I would respond the way Gene Genlin would respond. That was my role rehearsing. Then it was just a part of me, and I could play it. And then as I became confident as a therapist, I can create that role so that I'm not limited in my sessions to just the role of a therapist, but I can be a therapist and be more than a therapist. I think of I was in therapy with Gene Genlin for a year. And then after that, I was in a psychoanalytic therapy. And I was very worried about the therapist being hiding behind her role as an analyst and limiting us to her psychoanalytic constraints. And when I talked about that, I said to her, I'm afraid that you won't really wrestle with me with my issues. And she said, well, let's wrestle. And we got down on the floor, and she was a very, very elegant, dignified psychoanalyst, and also quirky. And we wrestled on the floor. And that was her way of showing me, oh, I can be a psychoanalyst and be more than a psychoanalyst, not hide behind it, but that is a part of my identity that I'm owning and proud of, but not limited by. So what about this issue of hiding behind our roles, behind our masks, or using them to express ourselves?
Oh, I like what you just said, Lynn, because that's what was coming up for me, that when I saw Monica, I just thought, oh, that's the creative expression. It's just an expression. It doesn't have to be an identity. It can just be a joyful expression of something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it can be, for me, it can also be an identity, but not your whole identity. It can be an embodied identity in that moment.
And the other thing that came up for me with masks is that, with the whole COVID thing, I actually feel really safe walking around with the mask on.
Yes.
Like we flew to Nashville, and I just felt really good about having a mask on. I don't know, it gave me a little bit of a barrier. Yeah.
Yes. Masks are protective in that way.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry. My computer's freezing up a little, so it's hard for me to hear sometimes. But I like what you said, Lynn, about what came up for me was transcending the mask. I like what happened, your experience with the analyst, that she could be more than, because we can hide behind those things too.
Mhm.
And I actually remember once with a client I was seeing, and he was having a lot of back issues. So we sat on the floor and I gave him an exercise. But he really, what he appreciated about our session and our relationship was that I'm me. I can step back, and there's something about being able to step in and out of our roles, right? That we don't have to hide, we can be our authentic selves. And I think that's the best way of connecting with people.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Anyhow, is being our authentic self. So thank you for your sharing. It kind of made me feel better about what happened in my session. So
It sounds wonderful. I want to say also that our authentic selves isn't one thing, like the apple with the apple core. And the roles that we step out of, we are still there. We're still aware of them, but we're interacting from them differently. So my analyst was very aware that wrestling with me on the floor was her expression as a therapist. She wasn't saying, I'm not a therapist anymore. But she was expressing herself as the therapist in a larger way. And so our authenticity is a very big thing. And it can have many different manifestations. There's something about when we think about Carl Rogers and the three can't think of the word right now, aspects of that are so important to our being good therapists. And he says their genuineness, warmth, and positive regard. But that genuineness, what does it mean to be genuine? And I believe that there isn't a discrepancy between being genuine and being in your role of therapist in its large context. Because my genuine feelings as a therapist are going to be different than the feelings that I have when I'm a client, for example. So if I have as a little example in my expressive relating paper that people can find if you want to read it, that if I feel shut out as a client, as a client, I might say, I feel like you just slammed the door on me, and I'm out of here. And that would be my genuine expression. But if I'm a therapist and I feel pushed away, I might say, something just happened where I feel a door closed. Did you feel that? Now, when I say it that way, it's not that that's not genuine, and that the more genuine one is when I'm a client. It's that my thoughts and feelings are going to go with my role. And that's the way I'm expressing it most truly, for that intention, for that responsibility, for my expectation of being the one that can be there with the person and for the person. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, there's such a difference in you make me mad, I'm leaving, and something, it's the something that you did there, that a door closed. It wasn't personal. It was, but you said it was a genuine feeling that you had, and that makes, yeah. And that's to me, that's the value of the pause, right? You're
Yeah.
able to pause and put it in that different context.
Yes, yes, yes. And I might make it very personal. A door closed to me, it's very personal, right? But it's expressed within the context of our relationship. And I think we do express ourselves differently to our children than we do to our neighbors, to our people that we work with. Our thoughts and feelings do go with our roles, I decided, but they don't limit, the roles don't limit our thoughts and feelings. I think that would be the conclusion that I've come to after playing with that a lot. So let's just have one more or two more comments, and then we're going to explore this in our breakout rooms. I'm still very curious about what roles you wrote down, but you'll explore that more in your breakout rooms. Let's just have a few more comments.
What I'm noticing is that each of the roles plays a part in each of the other roles.
Oh, yes, right. Each of the roles plays they're not like separate grapes,
No,
right? We are this interaction. It's an interactive process. We are an interaction with our roles and they with each other.
And the different aspects of myself come out in each of the other roles in different ways.
Yeah.
They're kind of constant in some ways, but constant at different levels. Different
Yes.
Yeah.
Constant at different levels. Yes.
And in different ways, much like you were just speaking of.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you're a mother, you'll always be a mother. That might be constant, but it will be very different as you go along.
And part of the fixer part of me is part of the mother part of me, is part of the friend part of me, and the wife part of me. They all kind of blend in.
Yes.
Yeah.
One more comment do we have? Melinda would say, oh, it's time for the breakout rooms. And I would say, is there one more comment?
I'd just like you to put it in the chat somehow, Lynn, that expressive relating paper where we can get that.
It's on my website. I'll have Christine put it in the chat.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment when Monica spoke about her mask. I noticed and then tried it on. I was so struck by the sensitivity to another person of what the mask would, the impact it could make. And like, I was also surprised that I had this strong reaction of like, oh, I want Monica back. It's funny, with Monica's mask, I couldn't play because I couldn't see her face anymore. And that evokes some childhood, something. And in contrast, it's like when I was playing with my costume, I was totally into the play of it. Like, I had so much fun, even though there were tiny details. It wasn't an extravagant costume, but that I could get into my playful role. So this is just also fascinating because I move in and out of, I think, as Nancy was saying too, just move in and out of so many parts of yourself, but like there is a connection between the parts.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, well said, Dorothy. Yes. So, how was it? What did you experience in your breakout rooms?
Well, we found new possibilities.
Oh, yes. What were the new possibilities?
Well, mine was with the time zone, that we could give the time zone to some of the people who really never did get their turn, and the entire group of others could be happy that this one little circle of people had the time the way they wanted it. And it was reflected in the group in such a way that I felt, well, yes, I'm going to see if that can happen. And then it went from one to the other in the group, and the sense of possibilities grew.
Mm,
4 of us, wow.
right. In a way, it was like expanding the role of the fixer. So you don't just fix it for everybody, but you re-envision that role. And that's probably what Moreno meant by role creating. You're expanding it. It's wonderful to sort of re-envision your role and see it in a different way. Anybody else? What happened in your breakout room? Jim, I love your costume. I'm wondering what.
I should say something, so otherwise no one will get to see it because
Yes.
only speaker view is visible. I'm
Yes.
having a lot of trouble with my internet connection on this machine, so I might disappear or be inaudible any moment.
So say something.
I did.
Oh, say something about your costume and your role.
This is a Zoom filter. It's my costume as a techie role, and I try and see which features I can use and try them out.
That's a wonderful. Do you like your techie role?
Most of the time, but it's most useful around non-techies because most techies know a lot more stuff than I do because I kind of after the 90s, everything changed and I didn't change. I didn't keep up with how everything moved into the future.
Mm-hmm. So it's a role that you like with non-techies. And
I'm useful around non-techies, but around other techies, they look at me, what, you don't understand that?
I know.
May I ask what techie means?
Technical person.
Oh, technical person.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Masumi, for asking. It's so helpful for us because we don't even realize.
So those antlers aren't something you pull on and off. They're tech
They're a
created.
Zoom filter. You could.
Oh my God.
You could wear these antlers too.
I want lessons in doing that.
It's amazing.
It occurred to me when I decided to do this that perhaps I should, one of the things we could have done is I could explain to everybody how they can do this.
Jim, how come you chose this antler and this nose and why not something else?
Look, she did it too. That's
Because
great.
I tried them all on and this one seemed the most dramatic. It's my role as dramatic person.
That's
Oh, wonderful, Vivian. Vivian did it too.
Yeah, Vivian did it
Yeah.
Vivian.
Only lessons.
Yeah. I
And
think we should
Roxanne
have a
has a
little
bow.
subgroup of
And then
tech.
Roxanne too.
Roxanne, yeah.
Yeah, video.
There's Roxanne. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Yay.
Listen, I don't even know how to get chat and save it. So, you know, some of us need a lot of help, Brett.
It's true.
Remedial technology. Oh,
Cute.
very.
So cute.
Where do we find those filters, Jim?
Oh my goodness. It's great.
You can just go to the video icon right at the bottom left. Then select choose video filter.
Which one first?
So if you look at bottom left of our Zoom's window, right? First we have mute followed by stop video. So at the stop video, there's an arrow pointing up. Click that arrow that's pointing up.
Oh, I
Then
see.
select choose video filter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So there we go. Just scroll down and choose the video filter that you want to display.
Preferences, background and effects, and select
Video
video.
filter, the
Steph
second
put that
one, the
in
second
the
tab.
chat. Thank you.
Oh, we're learning something new.
Masumi and Bob have put on glasses. Masumi changed to a little hat, and Bob is following along.
I love it, Bob. Ah.
Steph being an angel.
I love that Vivian and I chose the same one.
I don't see the app on my
I cannot go back. How do I go back?
Oh no, that can be a problem with roles, right? Costumes when you can't go back.
My goodness.
I don't know how. Do I choose none?
Now I lost everyone. Oh, there you
I
are.
lost everyone also. I don't know what's
Okay, now you're back, Brett.
But you're back. Is
I like
anybody?
your halo, Stephanie, right? Very good. All right.
that.
Good.
It's so much fun.
Steph,
Thank
you're
you
gonna
for
have to show
entertaining
me how
us
to
on
do
Halloween. That's a good way to end with this entertainment.
Well, I
Halloween.
like Monica's, what you have, the little decorations you just had. There you go.
Oh, that's great, Katarina. Great. Yay.
Lenore, you click on stop filter and then you choose video filter.
Stop
You know what?
filter?
I'm having a hard time even getting myself on the screen. I think my computer's really messed up. I can't even get my picture on right now.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, something.
Stop filter. I do not find where.
I keep getting viewing Pauline Dolan's screen.
None. Oh, there.
I don't
Oh,
know.
finally.
Yikes.
There
Yep.
we. Good. We're back. So I wonder if there are any more comments about what happened in the breakout rooms before we end today. Any final thoughts about all of this, the fun, the festivity, and you know, and our conversation about roles?
I think if I tried to make a list of the roles that I play, it would be exhaustive. It's very difficult to. You can keep on adding and adding and adding and subtracting and adding, and it's endless.
Sashi, what roles might be most important to you when you think of yourself? If you were going to introduce yourself, you would say, I am, and then what would come?
It seems absurd what I'm going to say. It's like it won't have any meaning if I say, I am a good human being.
A good human
How are
being.
you?
A lot of
Mm.
That's the role I would like to be like. Hello, I'm a good human being. Okay, so then somebody says, what does good mean? Then I'll have to define all different things.
Right. What does human being mean? That's also very mysterious, isn't it? What is it to be human?
This
What
lovely energy comes out, Sashi, as you say that. It's like I just feel the energy of it, and it feels good.
There's a felt sense to it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not just the words.
exactly.
What came up in my group that felt very important was that our roles don't just come from ourselves, but our whole history, our whole ancestors. I mean, all of them play a contribution, our ancestors, to who we are. And that's pretty amazing. Like as someone in my group, I'll let them talk, was bringing that up. I mean, I've been thinking about it recently, and it's very powerful. I am my past too. The past I don't even know. It's all of me, right?
Yes. I love that. Yes. It's intergenerational and it goes way, way back. The
Right.
role we inherit.
Right.
So maybe we can consider the holiday of Halloween not only for goblins and ghouls, but also a time to reflect on your roles.
I like that. Yes.
I like that, Shashi. Thank you.
That's a very good holiday, I think, to have. And you don't necessarily have to munch on candies when you do that, but
Some of them are bittersweet.
yes.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. I'd just say we had a time change here last night, Sunday morning. So I was an hour late. So I missed all the fun, but I'm kind of amazed how malleable time is as well, so yeah, I enjoyed just running around, picking up colors, and I, just enjoying the fun of not having to be too fussy about a character role, It's just fun. So I loved that. So I just felt, holding the space. It's great that this group's holding the space for that. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. I'm so glad you're here, even an hour late.
Yes, yeah.
And we'll be mindful of the time changes in different places.
Yeah.
Do they have Halloween in Ireland?
Yes, yeah. It has changed. It has changed a lot. We used to dunk apples, but the pumpkin has come in, and so that's a lot of American has come over across the water, But as children, I don't know what they do now, but we used to go out and dunk apples, and all sorts of different games, as I'm sure everywhere has their own variety. Yeah.
That's fun to remember dunking apples. We did that when I was a little girl.
Yeah.
This is a gift from Isabel, and I want to share it with you. I don't know, is it on my screen?
Yeah.
Halloween plants.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, with that wonderful recollection of dunking apples, we're going to say goodbye for now, and we will see you next week. And have a lovely rest of your Halloween, those of you who celebrate it, and those of you who don't, enjoy whatever roles you take and whatever roles you transcend.